Are you struggling to secure a job after your CCT? How am I going to get a job? There's no jobs around, so competitive. In this video, I'm going to show you how to prepare for a job interview, showing you the behind the scene of a conversation with GB who recently qualified. Let's get right into it. If you show me the job advert, then we can go over it. So you see, they're looking for somebody who's forward thinking, somebody who's innovative. So these are keywords that in your answer, you have to be thinking as in, how do I demonstrate that? Maybe you've run a project in your previous practice and you've demonstrated that. Or it could be in a hospital job where you've done something that was innovative. The CQC report, they look at practices and see what are the problems and make recommendations. So when you read through the report, you'll be able to see what are the challenges that the practice encounter. And in the interview, there will be a time when they ask you like, have you got any questions for us? If I want to show that I'm curious and interested in a practice, I'll ask them like, as you're probably all aware that a lot of practices are facing different challenges. And I'm just curious, what are the challenges that the practices face recently? Usually the practices face challenges with regards to difficulty with access, or there might be problems with turnover of staff. They employed a salaried GP, but then the salaried GP went on sick, or it could be various things. So then if you understand the reason they're hiring somebody and what the challenges that they're facing, what you can do is like, you can almost like walk them through what would be your suggestions. So as in, you've already thought through what are the solutions that you could implement when you start your job as a salaried. And that way, you're going to start from a different position compared to a candidate who has not thought through this. So for example, let me give you an example. Let's say there's a practice where there were some problems with management of long-term condition like diabetes, and you've got a special interest in that. So if they tell you something like, oh, you can see on the CQC report that was an issue, then you can say, I am quite interested in diabetes, and I can see on the last CQC report there were some issues that was highlighted. I'll be more than happy to take the initiative and work with the diabetes patients group and raising the bar, for example. See, like that would really separate you from somebody else who's not done that work.
Yeah.
Right? Then you also need to be thinking as in, when you look at the practice website, what are the people they've already got, and you might be able to see that they've got somebody who's got special interest in X, Y, or the teaching practice. So if you can see already what's a team like and see whether you'd be a great addition to the team, then you can sell yourself as in, what are you going to bring? So it's quite easy to see on the practice team what are the people interested and how you can actually fit in the practice. So that's how you sell yourself and build a great case for hiring you. But the other thing is, you also need to be getting a job where you're valued and you feel like it's a good fit for you. Because sometimes there might be practices that work in a different way where it might not suit you. All right. So you also need to have some thought process as in what practices you'd enjoy working in and what are the things that you don't want to. Some practices are not well managed. Then you might feel like, I don't feel safe to work in an environment where, for example, if you write a letter for referral, it gets missed or things like that. So like there are small things that personally I would not want to work in a practice where it's not well managed, or there are things that could slip. Another one would be if, for example, I'm going home late every day consistently. I mean, I don't mind staying late for 1 or 2 days when like it can happen. But if it's consistent, then that won't be something I would enjoy. So if they already got that facility, you have an interest, and you could look at whether the practice would help you to develop these interests, because then that would be investing in somebody who'd be able to work in that environment. So it's something worth considering. Question that you might be expected to ask would be things about, like they might ask you like the classical questions for interviews, like what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the challenges you face during your training, and how do you deal with high workload, pressure, or things like that. Just see how you actually respond to it. And what I encourage you to do is maybe think about 2 or 3 stories that you can tell based on these questions, where it will show how you've developed a quality that would fit in what they're looking for, or what a patient said about you, or another colleague who you supported. So these things I would consider like having a story that I can tell, because if you think about it, they are going to interview many candidates, and the way they're going to remember you is if you share a story that connects with them, and that would be memorable rather than just telling the same thing that other candidates are going to say. Let's do a role play, just see how you answer, and I'll give you some feedback. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So let me pose you here. So good answer, and it's good to share the fact that you want to be in Manchester because you have some root in Manchester. I think you don't have to mention about the university and the physiology. I'm not sure whether they want to hear that like in the first. So in the tell me a bit about yourself, it should be more like enthusiastic, a bit of high energy where you're smiling, very confident. So I'll give you a different way of answering it. So just to see not so much about the content, but more about the form. So I'll be like, hi, thank you very much for inviting me for this interview. I've had a look at the job advert, and when I read it, I felt that it was going to fit in with what I'm looking in a practice, because throughout training I've always been forward thinking and looking at how to improve standard of care, and reading this job description made me feel like I want to be part of your team, because I can see that you've already got some facilities that you're developing, and I see that primary care is going to evolve, where we'll have more care that's provided in a one-stop shop type of facility. So see like how the answer is showing like, oh, this is the candidate we're looking for. Do you see the way? Yeah. And there's more enthusiasm, and it actually shows like how is this going to be a good candidate, rather than to be honest, like when they ask you, tell us a bit about yourself, yes, they want to hear about you, but it's more in relevance for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So I would adjust it a little bit so that this interview is more about like they feel like this is a candidate we're looking for. That's how they should feel like when you're telling tell me a bit about yourself. All right, because most people, that's exactly how they're going to answer. Like, I graduated here, this is what I was doing. Like, that's a bit of an answer they'll hear a lot. Like, you want to be different, and that's how you're going to stand out. If it's just a first interview, don't put so much pressure on you. All right, and just go and see how things go. If you found this video useful, then I'm sure you're going to get a lot from watching this video. Click the video to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.